Remember those African-American breakfasts from the 1970s we want back? They fueled early mornings with big flavor and family pride. When did we stop bringing that joy to the table? Buttermilk biscuits with cane syrup brought the warm fragrance of the Southern kitchen to every African-American breakfast table in the 1970s, where weekend mornings began with the sound of dough being patted and folded by hand. The biscuits rose tall and flaky as they baked in heavy pans, their buttery layers puffing into golden clouds. Cane syrup, boiled from freshly pressed sugarcane juice, added a deep, smoky sweetness that no ordinary syrup could match. Families kept jars of the thick amber syrup in the pantry, ready to drizzle over steaming biscuits straight from the oven. Some cooks stirred a little butter into the syrup for a glossy glaze, while others left it pure and strong to balance the biscuit's delicate crumb. This simple pairing carried memories of family farms, Sunday gatherings, and the strength of generations who turned humble ingredients into unforgettable flavor. Buttermilk biscuits with cane syrup proved that the simplest foods, treated with care, could turn an ordinary morning into a celebration of heritage and home. Hot water cornbread patties delivered the satisfying crunch of cast iron frying to countless Delta kitchens, where cornmeal was as common as morning sun. Cooks stirred hot water into fine cornmeal until the mixture held together, then shaped it by hand and slid it into shimmering oil. The patties sizzled and crisped, forming a browned crust that gave way to a tender interior. The method required no milk or eggs, only the steady skill of a practiced hand, making it accessible and quick. Families ate these cornbread rounds with eggs, greens, or a simple drizzle of honey when sugar was scarce. In many homes, the sound of batter hitting hot oil signaled breakfast was ready, filling the air with the nutty aroma of toasting corn. Hot water cornbread patties celebrated resourcefulness and flavor, reminding everyone that the best dishes often came from the simplest combinations of grain, heat, and love, passed down through generations of African-American cooks. Salmon croquettes with grits turned pantry staples into a breakfast feast that felt both luxurious and familiar across African-American communities of the 1970s. Canned salmon was flaked into a bowl with onions, breadcrumbs, and a little seasoning, then shaped into neat patties ready for the skillet. As they fried, the croquettes developed a crisp golden crust while staying moist inside, their aroma mingling with the gentle steam of creamy stone-ground grits bubbling nearby. This pairing brought together the coastal traditions of the South and the practicality of modern kitchens, where canned fish kept well and stretched to feed a family. Some cooks added a squeeze of lemon or a pinch of cayenne for extra brightness and heat, while others folded in fresh herbs from backyard gardens. Served with a side of sliced tomatoes or greens, salmon croquettes with grits delivered protein, comfort, and a taste of heritage, showing how everyday ingredients could be elevated into a soulful breakfast worth savoring. Redeye ham and coffee gravy provided a bold, bracing start to the morning with a flavor that lingered long after breakfast was done. Thick slices of country-cured ham were seared in a heavy skillet until their edges browned and their fat rendered into a savory base. Into that sizzling pan went black coffee, which deglazed the salty bits and created a thin, smoky gravy. The sharp bitterness of coffee balanced the ham's rich saltiness, producing a sauce both surprising and addictive. Poured over warm biscuits or spooned onto grits, the gravy soaked in and carried a gentle caffeine kick that woke up the senses. Families across the South prized this dish for its simplicity and strength, a reminder of farm mornings when nothing went to waste. Redeye ham and coffee gravy reflected the ingenuity of African-American cooks who transformed pantry basics into something unforgettable, a breakfast that spoke of resilience and tradition with every deep, savory bite. Sweet potato pancakes brought earthy sweetness and warm spice to kitchen tables, blending mashed sweet potatoes with cinnamon, nutmeg, and a splash of milk. The batter sizzled as it hit the griddle, releasing a fragrance that filled the room with comfort. Each cake browned to a gentle crisp outside while remaining moist and tender within, offering natural sweetness without the need for heavy syrup. Many families grew their own sweet potatoes, making these pancakes a natural way to use the harvest through cooler months. Some cooks stirred in chopped pecans for a nutty crunch, while others added a hint of ginger for extra warmth. Served with a dollop of butter or a drizzle of cane syrup, sweet potato pancakes became a Saturday morning favorite, reminding everyone of autumn fields and family traditions. This dish honored the African-American love for root vegetables and the creativity of home cooks who turned humble ingredients into breakfast plates bursting with flavor and cultural memory. Catfish and Grits gave weekend mornings a soulful edge, pairing crisp fried fish with creamy stone-ground grits in a combination that felt both rustic and celebratory. Fresh river catfish fillets were seasoned with salt, pepper, and a dusting of cornmeal before sliding into hot oil where they sizzled to a golden brown. The grits simmered slowly on the stove, enriched with butter and a touch of cream for a silky texture that balanced the crunch of the fish. Families often gathered around big skillets of catfish on Sundays after church, turning breakfast into a communal event. Some added a squeeze of lemon or a dash of hot sauce to brighten the flavors, while others served sliced tomatoes or greens on the side. Catfish and Grits carried the heritage of Southern waterways and the ingenuity of African-American cooks who transformed local catches into a beloved morning feast that satisfied hunger and celebrated the bounty of rivers and farms alike. Field pea and rice hash turned a simple pot of peas into a hearty breakfast that fueled long days with ease. Black-eyed peas were simmered with onions, garlic, and a little smoked meat until tender, then spooned generously over steaming white rice. The flavors melded into a comforting bowl of earthy beans and fluffy grains that filled stomachs and lifted spirits. In the 1970s, this dish connected generations, recalling the Hoppin traditions of New Year's Day, while serving as an everyday morning staple in many African-American homes. Some families stirred in hot peppers for a gentle heat, while others finished with a drizzle of pepper vinegar for brightness. Field pea and rice hash proved that a few inexpensive ingredients could yield both nourishment and rich flavor, keeping families strong and satisfied. It celebrated agricultural roots and the creativity of cooks who understood that true comfort comes from a well-seasoned pot and the love shared around the breakfast table. Molasses Oatmeal filled kitchens with the deep aroma of blackstrap sweetness, offering an iron-rich start that was both frugal and indulgent. Old-fashioned oats simmered slowly in milk or water until creamy, then received a generous spoonful of thick sorghum or blackstrap molasses. The dark syrup melted into the oats, tinting them a warm brown and adding a flavor both smoky and sweet. Many families used molasses not only for its taste, but also for its mineral strength, a natural source of iron and energy. Some sprinkled chopped nuts or sliced bananas on top for extra texture, while others added a pinch of cinnamon for gentle spice. Molasses oatmeal spoke to a time when nourishment and economy were equally important, turning a humble grain into a breakfast that felt rich and sustaining. It remained a quiet favorite of African-American households, a reminder that even the simplest bowls could carry history, health, and the comforting weight of tradition with every spoonful. Okra and tomato breakfast stew offered a savory morning alternative that celebrated the summer garden's best. Fresh okra pods were sliced and simmered with ripe tomatoes, onions, and a hint of garlic until the vegetables softened into a flavorful broth. The natural thickening quality of okra gave the stew a gentle body, making it perfect for ladling over warm cornbread. Some families added smoked sausage or a pinch of cayenne for a heartier dish, while others kept it purely vegetarian, letting the vegetables shine. Served steaming hot, it filled the kitchen with a scent both earthy and bright, reminding everyone of harvest days and backyard gardens. Okra and tomato breakfast stew reflected African-American traditions of making the most of seasonal produce, proving that breakfast could be savory, sustaining, and deeply tied to the land. It invited families to gather early and savor the simple pleasure of fresh vegetables cooked with care and served with love. Country sausage and red pepper gravy turned ordinary biscuits into a feast, combining smoky pork with the sweetness of peppers and onions. Sausage browned slowly in a heavy skillet, releasing drippings that formed the base of a creamy gravy thickened with flour and milk. Strips of red bell pepper and chopped onions simmered in the mixture, lending a vibrant color and a subtle sweetness that balanced the savory richness. Poured over split biscuits or spooned onto grits, the gravy soaked into every layer, ensuring each bite was flavorful and filling. In African American kitchens of the 1970s, this dish represented comfort and abundance, a way to stretch a small amount of meat into a meal for the entire family. Some cooks added a touch of crushed red pepper for gentle heat, while others served sliced tomatoes alongside for freshness. Country sausage and red pepper gravy brought together bold taste and home-style satisfaction, making mornings feel special even on the busiest days. Fried apples with brown sugar filled kitchens with the scent of caramel and spice as butter sizzled in heavy skillets across African American homes of the 1970s. Thick apple slices were laid into the pan where they softened and browned, soaking up melted butter and a slow sprinkle of dark brown sugar. The sugar melted into a glossy syrup that coated every piece, creating a warm and fragrant side that paired perfectly with hot bread or flaky biscuits. Some cooks added a pinch of cinnamon or nutmeg, while others squeezed in a little lemon juice to brighten the sweetness. Families loved these fried apples as a weekend treat, serving them alongside sausage, grits, or even spooned over pancakes for an indulgent start to the morning. The dish honored a tradition of turning simple farm fruit into something special without wasting a single ingredient. Fried apples with brown sugar captured the heart of home-style cooking, transforming an everyday apple into a rich and memorable breakfast delight. Rice pudding. Hot cereal turned yesterday's pot of rice into a creamy, comforting breakfast that stretched ingredients and budgets with ease. Cold-cooked rice was stirred into a saucepan of warm milk, sugar, and a hint of vanilla, then simmered until it thickened to a soothing porridge. A dusting of nutmeg or cinnamon brought gentle spice, while some families added raisins or chopped pecans for extra flavor. African American cooks valued this dish for its thrift and versatility, using leftover rice from dinner to create something entirely new the next morning. Served in deep bowls with a pat of butter melting on top, it filled the house with a cozy aroma that made chilly mornings feel welcoming. Children loved its gentle sweetness, and parents appreciated how quickly it came together while providing hearty nourishment. Rice pudding. Hot cereal stood as a quiet reminder that resourcefulness and flavor could walk hand in hand, proving that simple ingredients could become a treasured morning ritual. Hoppin' John morning bowl carried the luck and legacy of the South into every spoonful, blending black-eyed peas, fluffy rice, and smoky bacon for a meal steeped in tradition. Peas were simmered until tender with onions, garlic, and a hint of pork, then spooned over freshly cooked rice so the savory juices soaked into every grain. A sprinkle of green onions or a splash of pepper vinegar added brightness, while some cooks stirred in diced peppers for extra color and flavor. This dish had long been served on New Year's Day for prosperity, but in the 1970s, many African American families enjoyed it year-round as a hearty breakfast. It offered protein, fiber, and deep flavor that sustained workers and school children alike. Hoppin' John morning bowl reminded each generation of the history carried in its ingredients, from West African roots to Southern kitchens, proving that food could nourish both body and spirit while keeping cultural memory alive with every bite of smoky, satisfying goodness. Creole shrimp omelette brought the rich flavors of the Gulf Coast to morning tables, folding tender shrimp and fresh scallions into fluffy eggs seasoned with paprika and a touch of cayenne. Shrimp were quickly sautéed with butter and garlic until just pink, then combined with beaten eggs and poured into a hot skillet. As the omelet puffed, the seafood infused the eggs with a briny sweetness that spoke of Louisiana waters. Some cooks added diced bell peppers or a spoonful of tomato sauce for extra color and depth, while others finished with a squeeze of lemon. This breakfast balanced elegance and everyday comfort, reflecting African American culinary ties to coastal Creole traditions. Families savored the dish on special weekends or when fresh shrimp were plentiful, making breakfast feel like a celebration. The Creole shrimp omelet captured the spirit of New Orleans and the surrounding Gulf, proving that a simple egg dish could deliver vibrant flavor and a taste of Southern heritage before the day began. Cornmeal. Hoe cakes with honey butter sizzled on griddles across the South, offering a thin and crispy alternative to traditional pancakes. Finely ground cornmeal was whisked with hot water and a pinch of salt, then spooned onto a greased skillet where it cooked to a golden brown. The edges crisped while the center stayed tender, creating a satisfying contrast in every bite. A pat of soft butter blended with golden honey melted over the warm cakes, adding sweetness that complemented the rustic corn flavor. Hoe cakes were beloved for their simplicity and speed, perfect for busy mornings or serving alongside eggs and greens. African-American cooks carried this tradition from farm kitchens to city apartments, showing how a few ingredients could become a breakfast favorite. Children loved them plain, while adults enjoyed the gentle sweetness of honey butter that pooled across the hot surface. Cornmeal hoe cakes with honey butter proved that the humblest grains could shine when cooked with skill, care, and a sense of history. Stewed prunes and citrus offered a naturally sweet and nourishing side that fit perfectly with the back-to-nature movement of the 1970s. Dried prunes were simmered gently in water with slices of orange or lemon until they softened into a rich compote. A touch of cinnamon or clove added warmth, and the citrus brightened the deep, earthy flavor of the fruit. This dish required little sugar because the natural sweetness of the prunes intensified as they cooked, creating a syrupy juice that tasted indulgent yet wholesome. Served warm over oatmeal, alongside biscuits, or even chilled with yogurt, it provided fiber and essential vitamins that families valued. African-American households embraced it for both its practicality and comfort, turning an inexpensive ingredient into something special. Stewed prunes and citrus stood as a testament to mindful cooking, where a simple pot of fruit could deliver nutrition and quiet pleasure, reminding everyone that breakfast could be as healthful as it was delicious without any extravagant ingredients or effort. Fried Bologna. Breakfast sandwiches turned a simple deli meat into a beloved morning indulgence across African-American neighborhoods. Thick slices of bologna were scored around the edges to keep them from curling, then fried in a hot skillet until the surface blistered and caramelized. The sizzling meat was stacked onto soft white bread with a fried egg, crisp lettuce, or a slice of tomato, creating a sandwich that was both hearty and comforting. Some cooks added a swipe of mustard or a layer of melted cheese, while others preferred it plain to let the smoky flavor shine. Affordable and quick, it became a weekday staple for families and workers needing a satisfying meal before heading out the door. Fried Bologna breakfast sandwiches captured the era's love of bold, simple flavors and the creativity of cooks who turned modest ingredients into something memorable, proving that even the humblest cuts could create a breakfast worth savoring with every crisp, savory bite. Collard green and onion hash gave leafy greens a starring role, turning a traditional dinner side into a savory breakfast companion. Fresh collard greens were sliced thin and quickly sautéed with sweet onions, a little garlic, and a splash of vegetable broth until tender yet vibrant. The result was a smoky, nutrient-rich hash that paired beautifully with eggs, grits, or cornbread. Some families added diced potatoes for extra heartiness, while others seasoned with a pinch of red pepper flakes to wake up the taste buds. This dish reflected a deep appreciation for garden vegetables and the ingenuity of African-American cooks who brought dinner flavors to the morning table. Collard green and onion hash provided iron, vitamins, and a satisfying warmth that lasted through long days. Its quick preparation and bold taste made it a weekday favorite, while its connection to Southern tradition made it feel timeless, proving that breakfast could be as wholesome and flavorful as any evening meal. Brown sugar sweet grits offered a playful twist on the classic savory staple, transforming stone-ground corn into a kid-friendly morning treat. Grits were cooked slowly in milk or water until creamy, then stirred with butter and a generous spoonful of dark brown sugar. The sugar melted into the hot grains, creating a caramel-like sweetness that balanced the subtle corn flavor. Families sometimes added raisins, sliced bananas, or a sprinkle of cinnamon for extra indulgence, while others enjoyed the simple pairing of butter and sugar alone. This sweet version of grits became popular in households where children preferred a hint of dessert for breakfast, yet adults appreciated its nourishing heartiness. Brown sugar sweet grits demonstrated how one ingredient could shift from savory to sweet with a few thoughtful touches, proving that a Southern classic could adapt to changing tastes while staying rooted in tradition and comfort. Each steaming bowl brought smiles to the table and warmth that lingered long after the meal. Pork neckbone and rice turned a humble cut into a deeply flavored breakfast that spoke to generations of resourceful cooking. Meaty pork neckbones were simmered slowly with onions, garlic, and bay leaves until their rich broth infused every grain of rice. The long cooking released tenderness and flavor, transforming inexpensive ingredients into a dish that tasted luxurious. Families often added a pinch of red pepper or a splash of vinegar for brightness, while some stirred in greens for added nourishment. Served steaming hot, pork neckbone and rice offered hearty protein and comforting warmth that fueled long workdays. This meal reflected the African-American tradition of using every part of the animal with skill and respect, proving that nothing needed to be wasted to create something memorable. Pork neckbone and rice stood as both sustenance and celebration, a bowl of savory history that reminded everyone at the table of the creativity and strength passed down through kitchens across the South and beyond. Buttered hominy with bacon brought a smoky, buttery aroma to African-American breakfast tables of the 1970s, turning a humble grain into something rich and satisfying. White hominy kernels were simmered until tender, then sautéed in a heavy skillet with generous pats of butter. Crumbled strips of crisp bacon were folded in at the end, their savory fat blending with the buttery corn for layers of flavor. Some cooks added a sprinkle of black pepper or a pinch of red pepper flakes to deepen the taste, while others stirred in chopped green onions for brightness. Served alongside scrambled eggs or spooned over fresh cornbread, it offered hearty comfort that stuck with you through the morning. Buttered hominy with bacon celebrated both farm tradition and kitchen creativity, honoring a food once central to Native American diets and embraced by Southern cooks. Each bite carried the essence of smoky bacon and sweet corn, proving that simple, affordable ingredients could create a breakfast that felt luxurious without being complicated or costly. Sorghum syrup. Waffles filled kitchens with the warm scent of toasted grain and caramel sweetness, creating a breakfast that tasted like a weekend celebration. Batter made with fresh eggs and rich milk cooked in cast-iron waffle irons until crisp and golden, ready to catch every drop of thick sorghum syrup. This dark, earthy sweetener offered a depth of flavor beyond ordinary maple, with notes of molasses and a hint of smoke from the cane fields. Families in the South prized sorghum for its nutritional value and natural richness, making it a treasured pantry staple. Some cooks whipped a little butter into the syrup for a glossy glaze, while others drizzled it straight from the jar, letting the bold taste speak for itself. Sorghum syrup waffles reflected African-American culinary heritage and the ability to elevate basic ingredients into something memorable, creating a breakfast that lingered in both flavor and memory. Every crunchy bite, followed by sticky sweetness, felt like a slow morning worth savoring. Hot links with mustard gravy turned an ordinary morning into a bold feast of spice and tang, filling kitchens with the smoky perfume of seasoned sausage. Spicy, smoked hot links were seared until their skins blistered and juices sizzled, releasing a deep aroma that promised hearty flavor. Pan drippings were whisked with flour, broth, and sharp mustard to create a velvety gravy that carried both heat and brightness. Poured over slices of toast or spooned onto fluffy biscuits, the gravy soaked in and balanced the sausage's fire with a gentle tang. Some families added diced onions or a splash of vinegar for extra bite, while others sprinkled chopped parsley for freshness. This dish offered more than simple comfort. It was a statement of taste and tradition, celebrating the spice-loving side of Southern cooking. Hot links with mustard gravy reminded everyone at the table that breakfast could be daring and unforgettable, turning a cold morning into a lively gathering of smoky flavors and warm conversation. Skillet cornbread with cracklings combined the golden crunch of cornmeal with the savory richness of pork, delivering a breakfast that satisfied both hunger and nostalgia. Coarse cornmeal was mixed with buttermilk, eggs, and baking powder, then poured into a hot cast-iron skillet lined with sizzling bacon fat. Into this batter went crispy pork cracklings, their salty flavor infusing the bread as it baked to a deep golden brown. The cracklings provided chewy, savory bursts that contrasted beautifully with the tender crumb of the cornbread. Served in thick wedges, it paired perfectly with greens, eggs, or a simple drizzle of honey. This recipe honored the African-American tradition of using every part of the hog, wasting nothing while maximizing flavor. Skillet cornbread with cracklings stood as a reminder that resourcefulness could produce incredible taste, making a simple, grain-based bread feel like a luxurious treat that filled the kitchen with a smell impossible to forget. Sweet potato biscuits brought natural sweetness and a warm orange glow to breakfast plates, showcasing a root vegetable long cherished in African-American kitchens. Mashed cooked sweet potatoes were folded into a dough of flour, butter, and a touch of milk, creating a dough that baked into soft, tender biscuits. The sweet potatoes added moisture and a gentle, earthy flavor, while a hint of cinnamon or nutmeg provided subtle spice. As they baked, the biscuits released a fragrant aroma that signaled a special morning treat. Families served them warm with butter, honey, or cane syrup, turning a simple biscuit into a celebration of the harvest. Sweet potato biscuits captured the creativity of home cooks who used seasonal produce to enrich everyday meals, blending tradition with a touch of sweetness. Their bright color and comforting taste made them a favorite for children and adults alike, proving that wholesome ingredients could create a breakfast that was both nourishing and delightfully indulgent. Rice and Raisin breakfast bowl turned leftover rice into a cozy, lightly sweet start to the day, perfect for stretching ingredients while feeding the family well. Cold rice was warmed in a saucepan with fresh milk, a spoonful of sugar, and a pinch of salt until creamy and fragrant. Plump raisins were stirred in, releasing their sweetness as they swelled in the heat. Some cooks added a dash of cinnamon or nutmeg for extra comfort, while others drizzled a bit of honey just before serving. This simple dish recalled generations of frugal but flavorful cooking, proving that nothing needed to be wasted to create a hearty meal. African-American families valued its efficiency and warmth, often serving it with buttered toast or fruit on the side. Rice and Raisin breakfast bowl demonstrated how the ingenuity of home cooks could transform plain leftovers into something soothing and delicious. A bowl that nourished both body and spirit during busy mornings or quiet weekend breakfasts alike. Fried mullet with hush puppies brought the flavor of coastal mornings to inland tables, celebrating the bounty of southern waters. Fresh mullet fillets were seasoned and lightly dredged in cornmeal before being fried to a crisp golden finish, their mild flesh staying tender and flaky. Alongside the fish, cornmeal hush puppies sizzled in the same hot oil, forming round fritters with a crunchy crust and soft, savory interior. The combination delivered a contrast of textures and tastes that spoke of seaside breakfasts and family gatherings. Some cooks added chopped onions or jalapenos to the hush puppies for an extra kick, while others served lemon wedges to brighten the fish. This meal reminded families of fishing trips, coastal traditions, and the joy of bringing fresh catch straight from net to skillet. Fried mullet with hush puppies honored African-American ties to coastal communities and the creative spirit of cooks who turned fresh seafood and simple cornmeal into a feast worth waking up early for. Banana pecan. Quick bread filled homes with the warm fragrance of ripe fruit and toasted nuts, offering a moist and hearty slice that worked as both breakfast and snack. Overripe bananas were mashed into a batter of flour, butter, and eggs, ensuring natural sweetness and tender texture. Chopped pecans folded through the mixture added a gentle crunch and a rich, nutty flavor that deepened as the loaf baked. Some families added a splash of vanilla or a pinch of cinnamon for extra aroma, while others left the recipe pure and simple. Sliced thick and served warm with a pat of butter, banana pecan quick bread made busy mornings feel a little more indulgent without requiring elaborate preparation. It became a beloved treat in African-American kitchens, where thrift and flavor often went hand in hand. This bread proved that everyday ingredients, when combined with care, could produce a breakfast that felt special and comforting, filling kitchens with the scent of love and tradition. Peach cobbler oatmeal captured the sweet essence of a beloved dessert while remaining wholesome enough for breakfast. Rolled oats simmered slowly in milk until creamy, then were topped with juicy peaches cooked down with a little brown sugar and a hint of cinnamon. The warm fruit formed a syrupy topping that soaked into the oats, creating a bowl that tasted indulgent but felt nourishing. Some families added a dollop of butter or a drizzle of honey for extra richness, while others sprinkled crushed pecans for a pleasant crunch. This dish mirrored the flavors of a classic peach cobbler while staying simple and hearty, making it a favorite in African American households seeking both comfort and health. Peach cobbler oatmeal proved that morning meals could echo the desserts of family gatherings, carrying the warmth of summer peaches and the memory of sweet celebrations into every spoonful, turning an everyday breakfast into something gently festive and deeply satisfying without excess effort. Which of these throwback breakfasts would you wake up early for? Comment below, hit like, and subscribe to keep the flavor party going.